What can you do when this happens?
As many of you know, I used to have my bees further down my lane, but all of this wind that you can see up in the trees that can blow 20 to 30 miles an hour all summer long, it plays havoc with my bees here in the prairie of Illinois. And so that's why I moved my hives back behind this building, some back over another building, some back behind a berm, and that way the bees can still fly, or at least I can still make videos on windy days. But what I want to show you, and I think you'll find this helpful in knowing where to put your bees, and some things here are disappointing to me. I'm going to show you. So let's start looking at this hive right here, okay? So the bees are there, but it's a beautiful day, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and you just don't see a lot of bees coming and going because of the wind. Now this hive is in the most protected area behind this building. The wind's out of the south. This hive is on the north side of my building. So you see bees are out front. You do see some bees going in and out. Now if it wasn't windy at all, they would just be tearing it up, but they're not today because it's so windy. Now, if you look at the hive next to them, same thing. They're, north side of the building. They're getting some wind protection. And we can go down through here and see the same thing on all of these hives. But I want you to note something in particular. As we go down, I want to see how the wind is coming from the south, blowing that way. Well, at the back of that building, you can see the wind will actually go through there, and the very last hive it will affect the most because it kind of swirls back around. The wind does. The wind doesn't really get up in here because it's so far away from that opening down there. Like, it's getting windier as we go, and as we look, well, that's not too differently, but you can see in the grass the wind is still whipping around this building, yet bees are still trying to go, right? Look at that. It gets better. Stay tuned. This is crazy, okay? So let's walk out here. All the bees here, except the last one, all these bees are facing the wall. So you see, look at that. Very little coming and going there. See that? Not much activity. They're struggling to fly in this wind. A little bit of activity, one or two bees trying to battle the wind. Again, it's 20 to 30 mile an hour wind. Now this hive is going to be almost the worst affected because that opening there, you see that? And so look at this. They have just put up a sign, no flying. It gets worse. Okay, I got some hives that are back here because of the wind. Look at that, the big hive, right? A little bit. Now they have this berm right here. It goes about 12 feet up, and it's giving them some shelter. But remember, when bees fly out and hit the wind, then they kind of turn around and come back saying, yeah, we can't do that. I'm going to leave an image right here because I want you to see this. I sat in that green chair there and I filmed, you can see in the background of this video, I'll put it right here, how busy the bees were on that day that I filmed. Especially this hive right here. You guys saw how busy this hive was. But look at this, because of this wind, let me show you the wind again. Look at that tree up there. I've got a good cover over my microphone so you don't hear the wind. But anyway, look at this. Look how they are just almost virtually shut down today. Can you see that? Compared to what it was just yesterday when it wasn't windy. Now look at that, same thing. These are real active hives. So windy, and it's 12:30 in the afternoon, let me look at my watch, get all this right. 84 degrees, 12:30 in the afternoon, nothing. Look at that. And this is when we got really good clover out there. A few bees here trying it, but it's a little more windy because straight out that way, that's southeast. So the wind is coming right into these bees and slowing them down. Look at that. Nice size hive here. Nothing. This is the hive that we're experimenting on, a new package. Got a lot of bees in it. Look at that. Did one just land? Oh, one just took off. Look at that bee that just landed. Can you imagine flying in this kind of weather like this? And I'll show you my wind speed right here on my weather station. They're just not getting a break. They're trying, look at that, but it is tough. This hive has the worst because they're just right here on it. And here's the Layens hive. Let's see what they're doing today. Pretty windy. They're going for it. I saw a few take off. Look at that. Can you imagine being a bee in weather like this? One of the first years that I had lived here over 20 years ago, it was so windy, so bad, my bees actually did very poorly that first year because they would have nice weather like this today, but then look at that, not able to go out. Oh, that one bee, did you see? She took off, she got blown up underneath that other hive over there. The wind just took her over there. See that? Look at that bee down there. Look at that. Crazy. And so, yeah, they just have to stop. They can't do that. I got most of my hives moved out of this area because of the wind up here. It's just too bad. As you can see, the grass under this horizontal hive. Lost this hive again 2 years in a row. My bees don't do good in horizontal hives. The last hive I did not move or get a chance to move out this year was the actual flow hive that I've been experimenting with for the 3rd year now. And I thought we'd come up here, you know, here's the wind, look at that. You can see how windy it is. Like I said, 20 to 30 mile an hour winds up here. And that's why I moved the bees out of this yard. It's just way too windy. I couldn't even get any wind block established. So yeah, so here we are, beautiful day. A lot of stuff out there, a lot of clover, a lot of black honey trees blooming. Look at that, big hive, got a super on. A few of them trying for it, but wow, isn't that sad when wind keeps bees from doing their work? And this isn't just kind of a, you know, odd situation. This is pretty common here in central Illinois, this kind of windy day that we have. Now, if you couple that with hard winter cold weather, you can imagine how terrible this is. And I oftentimes say in my videos, you really need wind block. And that's just not just wintertime, but even wind block in the summer is going to help your hives tremendously. On a day like today, I just take my lumps. The bees aren't going to be able to do anything. I know you were probably wanting me to say this is what you do to help your bees bring in tons of honey and keep raising a lot of brood and doing all this stuff on windy days. That's not what happens. Treat a windy day just like you would a rainy day, because it's a day that you can't do anything with bees and bees can't do anything either. So the best thing you can do is just hope for better weather. You know, that's one of the things about beekeepers that I find interesting, that is that once you really do start to become a beekeeper, you become a really good weather person, don't you? You're looking at the forecast. Is it going to be windy? Is it going to be rainy? Are my bees going to fly? What's in bloom and all that stuff? So just hang in there and hope for a better day. What's going on with that entrance reducer? If you want to watch the video where I talk about different ways that you may want to change your entrance reducer, check it out in this video right here. I'll see you guys over there.